brand new AC44 C6Ms, the 49 series. 4911 would end up being the leader on 302. Welcome back to the Buckeye State Wales. We're basically chasing the Berkshire nickel plate 765. We'll be starting our chase on the Fostoria district from Fostoria to Bellevue, Ohio. Before we would start chasing though, we would see the NS 302 from Fort Wayne, Indiana towards Fostoria and then Bellevue, Ohio. It would have 4911, which is a brand new AC44 C6M locomotive that just came out of Fort Worth, Texas, out of the Web Tech. Anyway, after we would see 302, it would be another 5 minutes before we hear the rumble of an EMD SD40 that would be L70 that would have been departing from Fostoria Blair Yard to Lepisic, Ohio, where they're going to be switching at the steel factory kind of north of town of Lepisic, Ohio. L70 is a daily local that comes out of Fostoria to head to Lepisic, Ohio. Normally they will have an SD40 Duo on it, but sometimes they have a SD40E. Sometimes they would have a SD40-3 locomotives on L70. After L70 has cleared Fostoria, heading westbound on the Fostoria district, it would be another hour and a half till we got word that the train that we are waiting for has gotten closer and closer to our location. So we decided to go to Columbus Avenue in Fostoria to basically get set up, put our car across the street from the park so we can get ready to chase. You know what that means. 765 is coming through town in Fostoria, Ohio, or the Cuyahoga Valley. By the time we make it to Old Fort, Ohio on the Fostoria district, we made it within a minute after the power went by on NS 303. 303 comes from Belleville, Ohio to Elkhart, Indiana. Sometimes he terminates in Fort Wayne, sometimes he terminates in Elkhart. But today, he would have some foreign visitors on the train. Made it within a minute after the power went by, so I did not get a video clip of the train going by as we seen it in the distance. However, we did made it for 765 here in Old Fort within an hour to spare. Somehow they end up stopping in the east side of Fostoria just to wait for 302 to clear and basically get into the yard at Blair Yard in Fostoria. By the time we heard the horn of the 765 and the 4268, which was the leader ahead of 765. 765 does not have PTC on the NS. But later on though, it would lead on the Wheeling to Lake Erie trackage from Bellevue all the way to Akron, Ohio. By the time we were getting done shooting NS 960, which was the excursion move of 765 from Fort Wayne to Bellevue, we saw 960 slowing down. We thought we would see them going 40 in Old Fort, but that did not what happened. You see, what happened is NS 302 stopped east of Old Fort because I guess the train was too heavy per to the radio. So what they did is 765 and the NS 4268, they pushed NS302 into Bellevue? That's what we thought? That's not what they happened. I don't know what they did to have NS302 to move, but it's up and moving again. By the time 302 was going by Bellevue, the well park, we gotten word that NS960 was over by Clyde, Ohio, which is on the Fostoria district as well. So that means 960 did not hook up at the back end of 302. That means they did something else, or maybe what they did is they probably pushed it like maybe 2 to 3 miles east of Old Fort, and then they got it up and moving, so they probably didn't need it anymore. That's what I'm guessing. But they were gonna have 960 go into the yard at Bellevue and basically do anything they need to do, like any hookups or anything to 765. Well, that's what we thought they were, but they were also going onto the Wheeling connection at Bellevue. But we figured that this train would stop for hours and hours. Well, they ended up moving the train, that one that was blocking the connection, and they basically unhooked from NS 4268 from 765. So 765 was actually leading on NS for maybe 5 minutes ish till it got into the Wheeling, and then done a crew change, done any hookups or anything they needed to do before they would head east towards Akron tonight. We decided to head towards Monroeville by the neat bridge in town. But while we were waiting for it, they got a warrant from Bellevue to Norwalk Yard in Norwalk, Ohio. So that means that they'll get warrants down the Wheeling. That point in Wellington. Oh, get out of there.
We're on the spot right for the diamond.
Alright.
We might as well.
Are we driving down there or are we walking?
Yeah, we gotta drive. We're gonna go down past the diamond.
Yeah.
We're down, guys.
After shooting 765 in Monroeville, Ohio, we decided to head over toward Wellington. We did 25 minutes of driving from Monroeville, Ohio to Wellington, Ohio. This time we would shoot the tri-lights on the Wheeling Lake Erie Hartline subdivision. In the meanwhile though, while I'm editing this video, the tri-light on the Wheeling would be gone. This would be the only time that I would shoot the tri-lights in Wellington on the Wheeling. However, I am kind of glad I shot 765 by the tri-light, because now the signals that are here is the new Safe Trend signals that were replacing the tri-lights. In the meanwhile though, we were on the other side of the diamond. Before we were checking out our spot on the other side of the diamond, I needed to use the restroom and use the porta potty on this side of the diamond by the tri-lights. In the meanwhile though, while I was done using the restroom, getting back to the car, and then I hear the whistle of 765. It sounded like 2 miles away from town.
everyone's leaving. It's crazy here. Holy crap. Editing it here in Wellington. Hoping we can get them again within the next couple weeks. Alright, ending it here in Wellington.
A week and a half later, we decided to head over towards Cuyahoga Valley to chase 765 steam in the valley. This time, however, we would chase it in the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Trackage. And we never been out here before. My buddy has, but anyway, let's start the chase. The 9 a.m. train is now getting into the station at Independence, Rockside Station, with 6777 waiting. After getting a short clip of 765 here at the Rockside station, me and Shawn decided let's head over to Brecksville station. And we waited for at least 45 minutes and talking to a couple buddies of mine from Michigan. In the meanwhile though, while I was talking to them, we had buddies that were getting on the train at 1:15 train. And by time that they texted us that they were departing the station at Rockside in Independence, That means it was going to be another 20 minutes before the train gets here in Brecksville, Ohio.
Huh?
Can you actually see it?
A little bit. I can see the smoke.
But that's it. You can't really see anything. Yeah, it's kind of warm. I can get like really good pictures. This is a lot harder than I thought.
Yeah. Getting photographs and videos by the Brecksville station by 2 run-bys, me and Shawn decided let's head over to Everett Railroad Crossing and basically just chill there till 765 reaches to us. And by the time we get there, it would be another 15 minutes till we hear the whistle of 765, but the train was still 10 minutes out. And we could hear it from Peninsula, Ohio. After getting them a Everett railroad crossing, we decided just to chill here and just wait for the train to return north. After the officer that was chilling here by Everett railroad crossing and let us park here, we just chilled and talked and just do whatever till we hear the whistle of the train heading back north for Independence, Ohio, Rockside Station again. After shooting 765 on the Everett Railroad crossing both times, we decided to check out the town of Peninsula. Peninsula would have some very good spots of mine. In the meanwhile though, the one spot that I decided of shooting the train by would end up being just one spot. However, we would miss the train arriving here within 20 minutes. However, this is not the last time we would see the train of the day. We would chase the 5:30 excursion heading south and north, but we would only get a couple spots of ours going back north. While they were fixing up or doing whatever they need to do on 765 before loading the passengers for the 5:30 train, we sat here by the little station south of Independence on Hillside Road in Independence, Ohio. We heard the 765 whistle before it would depart. So we just kept on hearing and listening and hoping for the rumble of 765. After Hillside Willow Crossing, I decided not to go to Brecksville. By this time, I decided to go to Boston Mill. I've never been here before. Boston Mill would treat me a nice shot of mine. I was gonna frame the old building that you can see in the background with the American flag as the train is going by. Boston Mill would treat me kind of well. There is an overpass where I could just chill and wait for the 765 before the train reaches here to Boston Mill. It was reaching here around 7 o'clock. After shooting the train by Boston Mill, we got on the road to Riverview Road that would take us to Everett Willow Crossing. But however, we did not make it across on the Riverview Crossing, which was north of Everett. And Everett is basically the next crossing south of Riverview Road that diverges across the tracks. So what we did here is that when the train was going through Everett, we decided to go towards Peninsula, Ohio, and shoot the train here by the deep river and a rock that I flipped the train on. After shooting the train in Peninsula, Ohio, I decided to basically pack my tripod up and put it in the trunk of my car and basically get ready to leave to get back on the road again. But this time, the camera would stay in the front of the car because we're not just done chasing the train just yet. After making it with the 35 seconds to spare at the Brecksville station, I decided, after catching it here, we decided to end the chase here. and basically make our way back home within 2.5 hours of driving. In the meanwhile though, this video would end off here at the Brecksville station. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time in the Mitten State or the Buckeye State Whales.